Chapter 34. And last. See how I pronounce last correct there as well? Correct. Angle that up. The next morning, we fell early to work for the transportation of this great mass of gold, near a mile by land to the beach, and thence 3 miles by boat to the Hispaniola, was a considerable task for so small a number of workmen. It is a very few, a very small gang to be transporting. He was full of gold coins, which would have been, of course, in those days, pure gold, and gold bars worth up to the value of what we've been told is £700,000, roughly the equivalent nowadays. I would think of about £20 million. I don't know, a lot. All physical jewels, gold, diamonds, gold bars, metal, precious metals. They've got to carry it all by hand from land to the beach, and then 3 miles by boat out to the main ship. Indeed, as Robert Louis Stevenson says, a considerable task for so small a number of workmen. Such a little gang. They probably had to enlist the help of some of the sea lions. They probably had to get a couple of goats to headbutt bags of treasure down to the beach. Ben Gunn constructing some sort of rolling carriage with using the wheels of cheese that is probably already Amazon primed with his winnings. The 3 fellas still abroad upon the island, so the scattered pirate crew, did not greatly trouble us. A single sentry on the shoulder of the hill. Can you recap who we have in the gang now? Yes, so the gang now consists of Dr. Livesey. Hello. The injured Captain Smollett, up youth. Squire Trelawney. Jim Hawkins, who is 6. Long John Silver. Ben Gunn. Cheese. And Gray. The sort of last surviving one of Squire Trelawney's sort of gang of butlers who he just enlisted to help on this adventure. The Mr. Bates one, I think we said, didn't we? I'm afraid I must offer my resignation for being a part of this crew. That's everybody, I think. That's pretty much everybody. So it's very small. Remember, we lost 17 members of the crew, so pretty big business. Still abroad upon the island, of course, we've got Old Morgan. I think Old Morgan is still alive, and another 2 pirates, another 2 unnamed pirates. I think Dick, Old Bible Dick, I think might still be alive, and one other unnamed pirate with unnamed accent from that confusing the whole time before. So these 3 fellas, still abroad upon the island, did not greatly trouble us. A single sentry, thank you very much for the like, Lucy Victoria. A single sentry on the shoulder of the hill was sufficient to ensure us against any sudden onslaught, and we thought, besides, they had had more than enough of fighting. I should think so. Therefore the work was pushed on briskly. Gray and Ben Gunn came and went with the boat. God, that must have been annoying for Gray. Imagine having to work in close quarters with Ben Gunn pushing a boat up and down the hill. We're getting gradually more and more knackered. Come on, mate! Please be quiet. While the rest, during their absences, piled treasure on the bench. On the bench? On the beach? On the bench? Where have I been? 2 of the bars, slung in a rope's end, made a good load for a grown man, one that he was glad to walk slowly with. For my part, as I was not much use at carrying, I was kept busy all day in the cave, packing the minted money into bread bags. Seeing, isn't it? All this wealth. It was a strange collection, like Billy Bones's hoard for the diversity of coinage. Remember Billy Bones's weird, gross old bag of coins that he kept in his sea chest all that time ago back at the Admiral Benbow. But so much larger and so much more varied than that I think I've never had more pleasure than in sorting them. Ugh. That's like when you have to sort out all them coins out your granddad's giant whiskey bottle. English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Georges and Louis, doubloons and double guineas and moidores and sequins, the pictures of all the kings of Europe for the last 100 years. Strange oriental pieces stamped with what looked like wisps of string or bits of spider's web. What could they possibly be, you might ask? But Jim's fairly ignorant language about that coinage, but then he is a 6-year-old boy in the 18th century. Well, the likelihood, I would think, probably there's a good chance that there's probably some Chinese coinage there, a lot of minted Chinese coinage, and possibly quite a lot of coinage from the Arab world, I would imagine too, particularly at that particular time, in that particular arena of the Mediterranean. A lot of North African coinage and coinage from sort of modern day Iraq and Iran, I would have thought, Persian coinage like that. That's what he's probably describing there. He's describing, I would think, Arabic writing and Chinese characters, we would guess. Round pieces and square pieces and pieces bored through the middle as if to wear them round your neck. That probably is Chinese coinage, very typical of Chinese coinage throughout the 18th and 19th century, and I believe into the 20th century. I'm not a numismatic expert, but I do believe that a bolt hole through the coin is very common. Nearly every variety of money in the world must, I think, have found a place in that collection, and for number, I am sure they were like autumn leaves, so that my back ached with stooping and my fingers with sorting them out. Day after day this work went on. By every evening a fortune had been stowed aboard, but there was another fortune waiting for the morrow, and this time we heard nothing, and all this time we heard nothing of the 3 surviving mutineers. At last, I think it was on the 3rd night, the doctor and I were strolling on the shoulder of the hill where it overlooks the lowlands of the isle, when from out of the thick darkness below, the wind brought us a noise between shrieking and singing. It was only a snatch that reached our ears, followed by the former silence. "Heaven forgive them," said the doctor. "'Tis the mutineers." "All drunk, sir," struck in the voice of Silver from behind us. Silver, I should say, was allowed his entire... So basically all the mutineers, they're just like, "Well, I suppose we just got to live here forever now. Anybody want to get pissed?" And so they've like got out the final stores of rum, and they'll just presumably just do that until either the mosquitoes get them or a sea lion. Silver, I should say, was allowed his entire liberty, and in spite of daily rebuffs, seemed to regard himself once more as quite a privileged and friendly dependent. Indeed, it was remarkable how well he bore these slights, and with what unwearying politeness he kept on trying to ingratiate himself with all. Yet I think none treated him better than a dog. Unless it was Ben Gunn, who was still terribly afraid of his old quartermaster. Or myself, who had really something to thank him for, although for that matter I suppose I had reason to think even worse of him than anybody else, for I had seen him meditating a fresh treachery upon the plateau. Accordingly, it was pretty gruffly that the doctor answered him. "Drunk or raving?" said he. "Right you were, sir," replied Silver, "and precious little odds which to you and me." "I suppose you would hardly ask me to call you a humane man," returned the doctor with a sneer. "And so my feelings may surprise you, Master Silver. But if I were sure they were raving, as I am morally certain one, at least, of them is down with fever, I should leave this camp, and at whatever risk to my own carcass, take them the assistance of my skill." Very honourable, Dr. Livesey. "Ask your pardon, sir. You would be very wrong," quoth Silver. "You would lose your precious life. and you may later that. I'm on your side now, hand and glove, and I shouldn't wish for to see the party weaken, let alone yourself, seeing as I know what I owes you. But these men down there, they couldn't keep their word. No, not supposing they wished to. And what's more, they couldn't believe as you could. No, said the doctor. You're the man to keep your word, we know that. Salty. Well, that was about the last news we had of the three pirates. Only once we heard a gunshot a great way off and supposed them to be hunting. A council was held, and it was decided that we must desert them on the island, to the huge glee, I must say, of Ben Gunn, and with the strong approval of Grey. Leave 'em, make 'em do what happened to me. Yes, all right, all fine. Yes, absolutely. We left a good stock of powder and shot, the bulk of the salt goat, a few medicines and some other necessaries, tools, clothing, a spare sail, a fathom or two of rope, and by the particular desire of the doctor, a handsome present of tobacco. That was about our last doing on the island. Fair enough. So they've left them like little bits and bobs they could possibly make a ship with if they weren't too drunk. Some salted goat, which I was imagining is very, very tough, but probably preserves very, very well. And the doctor's been quite good, hasn't he? The doctor's just been like, chuck him a few fags as well. Give him a few fags, there you are. Enjoy those. They'll be the last ones you ever smoke. Ho 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 ho. That was about our last doing on the island. Before that, we'd got the treasure stowed and had shipped enough water and the remainder of the goat meat in case of any distress. And at last, one fine morning, we weighed anchor, which was about all that we could manage, and stood out of North Inlet, the same colours flying that the captain had flown and fought under at the Palisade. Union Jack. The three fellas must have been watching us closer than we thought. The three fellas must have been watching us closer than we thought for. As we soon had proved. For, coming through the Narrows, we had to lie very near the southern point, and there we saw all three of them kneeling together on a spit of sand, with their arms raised in supplication. So they're like round in the corner, they're like, dun, and all three of them, there's a moment of like, they're all like that. Please help us. It went to all our hearts, I think, to leave them, fair enough then, in that wretched state. But we could not risk another mutiny. Fair enough. And to take them home for the gibbet, to be hanged, would have been a cruel sort of kindness. The doctor hailed them and told them of the stores we had left. I have left you some salted goat and a pack of amber gold. Enjoy, dickheads. The doctor hailed them and told them of the stores we'd left and where they were to find them, but they continued to call us by name. Please, Long John Silver, Dr. Livesey, and appealed to us, for God's sake, to be merciful, and not leave them to die in such a place. At last, seeing the ship still bore on her course and was now swiftly drawing out of earshot, one of them, I know not which it was, leapt to his feet with a hoarse cry, whipped his musket to his shoulder, and sent a shot whistling over Silver's head and through the mainsail. After that we kept under cover of the bulwarks, and when next I looked out they had disappeared from the spit, and the spit itself had almost melted out of sight in the growing distance. That was, at least, the end of that. And before noon, to my inexpressible joy, the highest rock of Treasure Island had sunk into the blue round of the sea. We were so short of men, 17 men short, lest we forget, that everyone on board had to bear a hand. Only the captain lying on a mattress in the stern and giving his orders. For though greatly recovered, he was still in want of quiet. Poor old Captain Smollett still there with his gunshot wound. It was a gunshot wound, wasn't it? A musket ball. That's it, youth. Oh. Move that barrel. Why don't you move the... You what? Oh, nothing. Sorry, Captain. I feel like they're still a little bit at odds. The Squire and... They'll never really be fully together, are they? Self-made man. You've had it all handed to you on a bloody plate, my friend. You've had it handed to you on a bloody plate, you have, Squire. Get rolling them barrels full of coins down the deck. Well, of all the downright un-English... We laid ahead for the nearest port in Spanish America. That's an indicator of the time for you, Spanish America. I guess looking at probably the northernmost tip of the South American continent, or possibly what was 1769. I don't know who's in possession of Jamaica at this point. Could be the British, could be the Spanish, but somewhere around that area, the Caribbean. Or the northern tip of South America, I think we're looking at there. We laid ahead for the nearest port in Spanish America, for we could not risk the voyage home without fresh hands. And as it was, what with baffling winds and a couple of fresh gales, we were all worn out before we reached it. It was just at sundown when we cast anchor in a most beautiful landlocked gulf, and were immediately surrounded by shore boats, selling fruits and vegetables, and the crews offering to dive for bits of money. The sight of so many good-humoured faces, the taste of the tropical fruits, and above all the lights that began to shine in the town, made a most charming contrast to our dark and bloody sojourn on the island. And the doctor and the squire, taking me along with them, went ashore to pass the early part of the night. Here they met the captain of an English man-o'-war. A man-o'-war. That's a warship. Fell in talk with him, went on board his ship, and in short, had so agreeable a time, so they'd given him probably a bit of the old cognac that Dr. Livesey and the squire had been keeping with him despite having no fresh water this whole time. Oh, I think we'll be able to strike a deal, don't you, squire? Oh, I'm sure we can come to some sort of arrangement. Ha, 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 ha. And then this new captain's there like, ha, 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 ha. He's not in on the joke yet, but he will be. He will be. When they give him some of that plum duff. Plum duff. And in short, had so agreeable a time that day was breaking when we came alongside the Hispaniola. Big night for the lads. Ben Gunn was on deck alone. And as soon as we came on board, he began with wonderful contortions to make us a confession. Silver was gone. The Maroon had connived at his escape in a shore boat some hours ago, and he now assured us he had only done so to preserve our lives, which would certainly have been forfeit if the man with the one leg had stayed aboard. But this was not all. The sea cook had not gone empty-handed. He had cut through a bulkhead unobserved and had removed one of the sacks of coin, worth perhaps 300 or 400 guineas, to help him on his further wanderings. I think we were all pleased to be so cheaply quit of him. Well, there you go. Long John has escaped. And further to our chat about Long John's capacity for manipulation and the psychopathic edge we've decided that he most definitely has. It looks like he managed to get inside Ben Gunn's head while they were all off having a bows up on the captain's boat. Yeah, Hamburglar heist tactics indeed, nice normal person. So it's like, if we were to set the scene, it's like, oh, I think we can come up with a deal. Don't you, Squire Trelawney? Oh, I think so. Ha 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 ha. And they all go off and do with the captain. Ha 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 ha. And it's just Ben Gunn on his own on the ship. And it's like this. Hang on. Like, well, Hang on. Oh, no.
Well, that's the gentleman gone for the evening, so's old Ben Gunn here on his own. I'll nip down to the kitchen for a nice last bit of cheese. Last bit? I'm kidding myself. I'm going to be eating it all the way home. I shall never stop eating all that cheese. I wonder if Dr. Livesey's left any more of that Parmo what he brought aboard.
Down to the kitchen. Long John's like that. All right, Ben.
Piece of cheese, please, Long John.
Same as
yesterday. Piece of cheese, please.
Here you are. Gives him a block of cheddar like that. Hey, I tell you what. He like whispers something in his... Ben Gunn's like that, eating his cheese. Flashback. Then we're like, wonderful. Well, good night, Captain Bumbleson. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow. All the best, gentlemen. Thank you for the cognac. We do what we like in these days. We do what we like. Where the devil's Silver?
You don't understand, Doctor. You don't understand.
That's how that scene would have played out. And Long John is gone. He gets in their head. He gets in their head to get what he wants. He'll stop at nothing to get what he wants. Opportunist, psychopath. I don't say that lightly. It's a really good... Well, we'll have book club after. Well. To make a long story short, we got a few hands on board, made a good cruise home, and the Hispaniola reached Bristol just as Mr. Blandley was beginning to think of fitting out her consort. So Blandley was like that, looking at his watch. For the love of Jupiter, me boat! About to send for the British, send the army and navy after him to go and get that ship back. 5 men only of those who had sailed returned with her. Drink and the devil had done for the rest, with a vengeance. Although, to be sure, we were not quite in so bad a case as that other ship they sang about. With 1 man of her crew alive, what put to sea with 75. All of us had an ample share of the treasure, and used it, wisely or foolishly, according to our natures. Captain Smollett is now retired from the sea. That's me done, youth. That's me done with all that nonsense. Christ above. One cruise away from retirement I always said as much, and that's it. That's me done. I'm retiring to the countryside. I'm starting up Hedgehog Sanctuary. And any of you can come that wants to come and see him. But that's me. And I'll bid you gentle. My name's Alexander Smollett. I sailed under my sovereign's colours. I'll fly them colours over the best looked after hedgehogs in the Peak District. And I'll see you all next time. And he's gone. Gray not only saved his money, I have put a little bit of money aside, Hannah, so that we can finally get married. But being suddenly smit with the desire to rise, it is time I bettered myself socially. And for that reason, also studied his profession, and he is now mate and part owner of a fine, full-rigged ship. Finally, I have bought my own ship. Married besides Anna. We can finally be married. And the father of a family. I have many children, and for that reason, I must offer my resignation from being lame. As for Ben Gunn, he got £1,000. Huge amount of money in those days. Huge amount of money. So let's call that £500,000. I can't do the maths. Which he spent or lost in 3 weeks. Or to be more exact, in 19 days. For he was back begging on the 20th. So he's gone into the first cheesemonger in Bristol. Just still running down the street, still dressed in half a dead goat. Edams all in the window. Ah, cling. Good afternoon, sir. Can I help you? Oh, you all right, sir? What can I get for you? Anything in particular?
Cheese,
I'm sorry, sir.
all of it.
Well, we can't sell you all the cheese. Clunk! Big bag of coins on the desk.
Marion, put the close sign on.
Starts booking his holiday to Treasure Island. No. Absolute cheeseman, dear. The post credits. Where are they now? It's very, yeah. Thanks for that, Robert Louis Stevenson. That's what we were after. Yeah, exactly. So we've gone Captain Smollett. I'm retiring to me hedgehog's youth. I've sailed under my sovereign's colours, and I'll see you all later. Finally, I've retired, bought my own ship, and Anna and I can have a nice cottage here at Downton, Bristol. Good, wonderful. I must offer my resignation. And
I'll buy all the cheese in the shop.
Marion, put the close sign on. Cling. Anyway, Ben Gunn spent his money in 19 days, but he was back begging for more on the 20th. Then he was given a lodge to keep, exactly as he had feared upon the island. And he still lives, a great favourite, though something of a butt. And that's B-U-T-T. And that's not to say he's acting like an ass, or an arse, or a butt head, or a butthole. He's a butt, as in like he's the butt of a joke. He still lives, a great favourite, though something of a butt, with the country boys, and a notable singer in church on Sundays and Saints' days. Oh Lord, thou providest cheese, oh praise the Lord. Lovely, lovely little musical outro for him. Of silver, shipmates, we have heard no more. That formidable seafaring man with one leg has at last gone clean out of my life. But I dare say he was reunited with his wife, and perhaps still lives in comfort with her and Captain Flint. It is to be hoped so, I suppose, for his chances of comfort in another world are very small. The bar silver and the arms still lie, for all that I know, where Flint buried them. And certainly they shall lie there for me. Oxen and wain ropes would not bring me back again to that accursed island. And the worst dreams that ever I have when I hear the surf booming about its coasts, or start upright in bed with the sharp voice of Captain Flint still ringing in my ears.
Pieces of 8! Pieces of 8!
End of chapter, and the end of Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island.